welcome to today's video where I'm going to be documenting Diego's adventures in his new tank for the first week. So I guess technically day one was yesterday when I actually built the tank. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it below. But basically I moved Diego in. I did get to see him out and about a few times, which was great. And then in the evening I figured I would offer him food just to see how he'd respond. I half expected him to run away or not want to eat, because when you move a gecko into a new environment they can be a little bit stressed. And actually he ate it. He ate the crickets. He did get a little bit of leaf litter in his mouth, but as it's all natural it will probably just go through his system as usual. But on that note, it was very, very positive, so I was glad to see that. Anyway, it's a morning. Diego is hiding somewhere. I don't know if he pooped last night, but for the most part this is quite normal for Diego. We might see him as the sun is setting, as he has his luminized lamps, and we'll most probably see him in the evening, but I'll check back later. I almost forgot to put Diego's calcium bowl in. So here it is. This is one of the bearded shrimp ones we make on our Etsy shop. So I'll be placing that in, but currently he is up in that corner. It's about 7:30 in the morning. The luminized lights are coming on. And Diego is out basking, which is absolutely brilliant to see. Here's one of the reasons I love using slate. You can sort of see Maui there. So he's still able to get the heat because they heat up nicely. He can get a tiny bit of UV if he wants. But he can hide out and it's in a stack. So he is just sleeping down there. But yeah, it's a little later on in the day. And you can start to see the substrate drying out. So in the build, I believe it was, I did speak about how when you initially set up a tank you can worry about a spike in humidity. Fortunately this tank has really good ventilation, so that doesn't last very long, but it is, I do like to mist the substrate now and again, and obviously I'll be watering that plant, and if I see that a gecko is going to shed I just mist the whole tank. Not heavily, it's not drenched, but it's just enough that it helps get the skin off. We also have Minnie there. I think you can just see her, her little head. She's also cryptic basking. So there's a little gap under here that she likes to sleep in. It keeps her nice and warm. If she wants to pop her head out or a tail or whatever, she can. I spy Diego! Hi Diego! It's nice to see that he's still in his normal routine. Maybe he hasn't really noticed because everything still smells like him. He's just higher up now. But he is just doing what he usually does, which is fantastic. I honestly thought this transition would be a lot more stressful. If you ever saw the video from 5 years ago when he moved into his original tank, you'll know that when he first moved in, it was so different. And if I'd walk in the room, he'd shoot off and we wouldn't see him. And so this is brilliant. I am so happy. So today's been a pretty standard day. Diego came out when the lamps were sort of setting. If you didn't know, I use luminized, so we get a sunset and a sunrise. And he's certainly coming out of those times to lay out, and he is currently still laying out. But I figured today we'll offer him some food. The funny thing with the leaf litter, and I find this in Rex's tank too, is you can see where they've moved because there's some over the calcium bowl and some in the water, so I'm going to have to change that. The substrate has continued to dry out quite a bit more, so that's totally fine. Succulent is still alive. Obviously early days it could just completely die, but I'm going to take that as a win. The only thing I haven't found yet is where he's going to the toilet. Now it'd be very annoying if it's in there. because that's a buried hide, that's a secret hide. Unusual if he goes over there because generally they don't tend to go where they sleep, although he did kind of go behind his warm hide in the last tank. It would be handier if it was on the rocks because then I can at least put some like toilet paper up there, so if he goes it's easy to clean and I can see it. But I'm gonna have to search around here at some point. Look who's come to see me this evening. Hi, Diego. Come here. You gonna come up? Yes, look at that little face. Diego. Hi. There's not too much to update you guys on, to be honest. He has pretty much got into a routine of early hours of the morning, getting up when the sun is rising, it's warming, and then sun sets, he will lay out again, and then in the evening he comes over here. So he's kind of moved his schedule that he would usually do of coming out in the evening over here into this new tank, but I am actually seeing him more because I guess in the other tank where the place he had to go to if he wanted to openly bask was a lot higher up, maybe he felt a bit more vulnerable. I would sometimes see him up there and I'd see him openly basking, but not nearly as much as at the moment, so that is fantastic to see. Are you quite alright, Diego? Yeah. So it's Friday, everything is going normal in Diego's tank. He is currently not out, will likely be out later. There's a few fungus gnats. If you notice this, they're coming from Rex's tank, and they're just spreading. They're very annoying. Anyway, one thing I do need to do this weekend is clean out Diego's tank. Obviously it's looking like this because I pretty much took most of the stuff out to put in his new tank, but yeah, that's a job need doing. We just observe. We try not to judge. But what is this? Hi. Hi. Yeah. I'm midway through emptying Diego's tank and I've put pretty much all the drainage in this box because it hasn't really been used. Usually if I'm emptying tanks that have drainage, they have roots in there, they have isopods and worms in there, but this is dry and other than having a wash through, I could probably like use it again. It's just very, very dusty, so this is taking a while and I feel like I've got bits of clay in my mouth. So we're all clear. I imagine there'll be some people who will ask me whether I have plans for something to go in here since I now have a 3 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot tank. Obviously a year ago now we originally put our house up for sale. Really didn't think it would take this long to sell and find something we liked, but my goodness, the market is slow, so it feels like I've had a year of my life put off. So a year of my life of reptiles I would have wanted to get, plans for tanks, it's all been put off by a year, and we're still in this position. So although there are definitely reptiles I've eyed up, reptiles that I would like to get once we move, and maybe if things keep going the way they're going, maybe I will get something for this, because I just feel like, yeah, my life is a bit on hold at the moment. However, if and when we do move, this being empty will be actually very helpful because this is a heavy tank. Not as heavy as it'd be if it was a glass tank, as it is a PVC one, but with the drainage and the soil and everything in, it can be very heavy. So this will make things easier to move, but also, as we've seen this week, moving Diego into that shallower tank has been actually a really good decision. So if you were thinking what size tank to get a Leopard Gecko, 3 foot by 2 foot by 1.5 foot, if the lights were mounted inside this tank, maybe a 2 foot would be fine, but there is just a lot you need to build up, and I don't know, it just doesn't look that great. And I think, as I said, I think Diego's doing a lot better in his new tank. So Diego's officially waiting for me. I just had Minnie out because she has just finished shedding, and I could hear this rustling from Diego's tank, which I think was him walking over the leaf litter. So if you do have a gecko maybe in your room, and you like the sound of crunchy leaves, then a leaf litter might be great for you. If not, it might be a tad annoying, but at least we know that Diego's on his way.
and now he's realised this branch is actually higher up and he can get a better view. So he's adapting very well to his new setup. So this is the last day filming Diego, and I have to say I think this was a good decision. He has settled in nicely. His neighbour Minnie lives there, and obviously Maui's down there, and there's his other tank. But I feel like I've done a video before if you're like struggling to put, you know, create more enrichment in your gecko's tank, or maybe I've done one about helping your gecko settle in. If I haven't, then maybe I need to do one or do an updated one, but I'll try to link some helpful videos at the end here so you can at least check them out. But thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.